How's it going, everybody? I want to show you this brand new witch farm idea that I had today. So this video is going to be about the mechanism and not necessarily about the rates or about how to get more witches to spawn or anything like that. But this is going to be using a triple layer floor layout, and it's going to have a fairly decent perimeter here. And we're also using flying machines and observers and barely any redstone. And it's actually a really good design. It's pretty dang efficient. I was able to achieve 3 stacks of redstone an hour from this sucker, which is around 1,500 drops. And it's pretty respectable for a single witch hut on console edition. So let me explain a little bit about how this works, and I'll show you how to build it. So the redstone for this thing is super cheap. You can see here that all we got on top is a tripwire. Down below is everything you see is everything you get. And over here is all of the redstone required to make this thing flush periodically, or sweep periodically. You can see that we got a tripwire that's connected over there, so we can get our nice wireless kind of looking redstone. And then above here, we actually do have some wireless redstone vertically, and that's using this little circuit here, which I'll leave a link to the description of where I found this little circuit. It's just these 4 blocks right here, the 2 daylight sensors on nighttime mode, and then a comparator on subtract. Now this was designed by RayzWorks, and he's a great YouTuber, and he came up with a really cool way. If you block this daylight sensor, it'll activate this redstone signal. And so when we do that, excuse me, in this case a piston up above, what it's going to do is it's going to disable this etho hopper clock, and it's going to pull out this observer. So the observer is detecting the comparator change, which is activating the piston, which is putting the armor stand into the tripwire, which is activating the powered rail over there, which is sending an observer signal to our flying machines. So it's a super efficient way to do all of this, and it requires only 3 redstone dust, which is kind of crazy. And the whole thing is super cheap to build. It's really reliable, and I think it looks really nice as well. So super important things to remember here. This is a good example of what you're going to find in your single player world, and the rates for this could actually be a lot better, and that's because I built this 1 block off of where it should be, which is kind of ridiculous. But it should be 1 block over that direction, so it's actually definitely not as efficient as it could be in this particular arrangement. But this video is just going to be about the mechanism here. It's not going to be about perimeters or anything like that. I'm actually in my single player world. You can see my normal witch hut all the way over there. So yeah, I just wanted to make that really clear that the rates of 3 stacks of redstone dust an hour could actually be quite a bit more than that. It could be quite a bit more than 1,500 drops an hour if you had a better perimeter. I'm just achieving this perimeter by going up into the air. Okay guys, well I made the decision not to make a block for block tutorial because it would just take a really long time to show you all the measurements on how to make a witch farm in the right spot, and how to do your roof and your collection, your item elevator, etc. So this video is just going to start off with the layers. I'm just going to show you how I built the mechanism, because that's really the only important thing about the video. The rest of it you can either, you've already know how to do all of this, or you can watch a better video by a better YouTuber. So this is just going to be about the mechanisms. It's not going to include the ceiling or anything like that. I'm going to start off with 3 layers here already in the right position. Okay guys, so to start off with, we're just going to build our flying machines, and we're going to put some immovable blocks down here so we can make sure that they're in the right spot. So the way that you measure this out is you choose the side that they're going to be on, and you build away from your 5x7 platform here. You do 1, 2, 3. On the side of that one is where this first immovable block goes. You just go up by 3 blocks. Make sure you have a space at 2. So that's that side. And then over here, you do something similar. But in this case, you go out by 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go over to the side and then put it on top. So that's where that other one goes. And then the same thing, we want a gap of 2. So our flying machines are going to go at different heights, and so that's why these are a little bit in a weird orientation. So what we can do is build our first one at the same level of our platform off of this immovable block. So we want 2 sticky pistons and 2 slime blocks in this orientation. Put a couple temporaries on top of the piston. Put observers like this. Break that. A little bit of a visual error there. Put one up like this. And you can put an immovable block there to keep that from happening, or you can just update. There you go. And this is a temporary block. You can see that it stopped over on the other side. So this is where your first flying machine is going to go. You want your second flying machine to be relatively the same. So you want it to be on the same size, or same height. You can build that in the same way. Slime blocks, sticky pistons, and what we can do is put an immovable block there to prevent it from flying off when we build it. And observer, can break that, and if you come around here, put one like this, break that, and there you go, there's your second flying machine. And just so they're on the same side, you can make that cruise off. And obviously making sure to use terracotta blocks here so the slime blocks don't stick to the platforms. Okay, make sure not to mess this up, because if you do, you'll have to redo your flying machine. So make sure all of these blocks are in the right spot. We got 1, 2, 3 like this. Got another one on the end. We got one coming back within line of our flying machine, and then we can go across the platform. So just to make sure that that's in the right spot, let's update this and make sure it flies across, which it does. So what we can do is repeat that on the bottom one. So we got sticky blocks, one there, back in line with it, go across. We can make sure this one works as well. Okay, so you got your top 2 sweeping arms. So now let's do the bottom one. It's going to be a little bit different. We're going to go off of the first slime block, off to the side, back in line with it, and then pull it across. So now it's going to be right underneath the other 2. So now we can test these out, make sure they work. Just want to make sure that you got, whoops, that wasn't the right way to do it. You can break them if you don't start them the right way sometimes, but they're pretty easy to fix. You got to break 3 blocks and put them back. Okay, so just making sure that we got all of our arms coming across with us, and we just swept all 3 layers. Super cool. So now we can do the whole activation circuit with the observers. That part's actually super easy. Okay guys, we're going to save the leaf blocks till the end, because those can actually be super confusing on figuring out where to put those. So what we're going to want to do is put some normal pistons on the immovable blocks back there, so when they extend, they activate our observers. Let's get this in the right orientation, just like so. And then what we can do is just real quickly, we can activate these, and we can see where we want our other 2. So there you go, there's one, and then there's the other one. So when they get over to this side, we can do the same thing, but we're going to put the pistons at a different orientation. So temporary blocks, we can put our pistons right there, and this will activate the other side. So just to test it out, let's give it a quick little thing. You can see that both of the sets of these pistons will activate the flying machines. Alright, so if you put everything in the right spot, you should see that it sits in the station, and then when you activate the observer, the whole thing goes to the side. Words. Perfect. So let's do the other side. Super simple. It's pretty much the same. Let's give it some temporary blocks. Let's put our observers in. You can see that these are going to launch the flying machine. Perfect. And then we can also put an observer right there. Get rid of all these temporaries, and then we can do the tower going down like that. So just to check, we can put a block. Both pistons activate. Sweet. So that's both sides. Okay, so to power both of them in unison, which just makes the whole device a lot simpler, what we can do is just do powered rails, because as these change their state, the observer is going to detect, and it's going to go across really, really nicely. Perfect. So to get these lined up, we can just put another observer right there. You can see that both sides activate the flying machines. Oh look, and we have our first issue. So this isn't going to happen once you build it. That's because there's 2 observers facing into each other like this, which is a pretty ridiculous glitch, but this is a perfect opportunity for me to show you how to fix an arm if you built it in the wrong way, or if you've left the area and it's stuck together like this. So what you can do, you can break these 3 or 4 blocks right like so, put in your piston back in the right spot. I said in the right spot, so right there, slime block, observer, whole thing's going to go across. So then when you get to the other side, you can just activate it like any way you want, so it's back in the right position. So once you get back into this area, throw a slime block down, and there you go, that's the whole thing fixed. So if it does stick together, that's the quick way to fix it. So let's test this out now. What you could do is you could actually have these alternating, but I want to not have them alternating. I want them to be at the same spot, because I think it's going to make our witches fall off the platform more effectively. Okay, so now that we have everything set up in the right spot, we can test this out by just powering the rail. All of the arms should sweep across, and you've successfully built your first witch farm mechanism of this type. That's awesome. There you go. Okay, this part can be a little bit confusing, so what you want to do is just patch in everywhere with leaves, and so you don't have any spawns anywhere on the flying machines or anything like that, because even when they're moving, things can still spawn on top of them. So just want to put some leaves right here and above it, and you can do a layer of 2 right here. And so you can't really mess this up, because if your flying machines go across and you got a leaf in the wrong spot, it'll just break the leaf. So you'll know where you can and can't put them. So you can put one there, which is very important. And also a super important spot is right there under that piston. because this is a huge place for mobs to spawn right there as well. So you put one up like that. You don't need it there, so I'm just going to break it so it's more obvious. And then we can put more leaves on here on those flying machines because spiders will be able to spawn. I guess other things too because that's too tall. Yeah, perfect. Okay, one here. And also we're going to want a couple above our observer. One in that gap. One like this. That should be pretty much spawn proof on this layer on this side. Looks pretty good. So what we can do is we can activate it like this. A little bit jumbled. Let's put that there. We can put it to the other side. We can do the same thing on the other side basically. So watch where it goes. We can make sure that we got all these spots blocked up. Let's block that up. Let's get that one. Let's get these. Yeah, I'm just wanting to show you all of this from start to finish because this can be really complicated. I kept putting these in the wrong spot and I kept getting skeletons and stuff spawning in here. So if you put these all in the right area, you won't have any issues. I think I'm going to leave that like that for now. Put some up there. We want one there. We can put one on top of that observer. And we want one on top of that observer, but leaving a space. Okay, perfect. So it looks like that side done as well. So now what we can do is make sure as it's going across, nothing is spawning on top of the blocks. Because if you have a really good perimeter, that is going to happen to you. So you want to put leaf blocks like this. So you make sure nothing spawns on top of the pistons as it's going across. And we'll do that for the other side as well. Oh, and make sure to get that gap right there and this gap right there. Very essential. Don't forget those. Let's pull it across. Make sure to have it too wide like this. Okay, and I think that that's basically everything for spawning. Now we just need to put the rings around to keep the witches in place. So what we can do is test this out and make sure got everything in the right spot. You can see how there's nowhere in here for them to spawn while it's moving. And on either side, when it gets to its stations, there's nowhere for anything to spawn on those as well. Perfect. So let's put rings around these. It's super quick. We can just put a little thing there, put like so. And then one of these layers is going to have leaf blocks at the foot level, and the other ones are going to have them at head level. But that's just because the flying machines are different and it doesn't really matter. So got a couple there, got a couple there, and let's put this one at this level. Perfect. Okay, now you should have a ring around the bottom at that level, and make sure to leave a gap on the edges, obviously, for the witches to fall down. You want to put another block right there, and another one right there. Should be good to go. You should be good. I don't think anything is going to fall out of here, even though sometimes it looks like it. And if you're worried about it, you can put another block in these places like this, but I'm just going to keep it relatively open just because I've already tested it quite a bit, and there really isn't any chance of anything to fall out. By the time this slime machine gets over to this side, instead of getting squirted out to the side for some reason, the machine's going to be in the way, and then when it rests in here, it's going to be in the way. And so there's a couple gaps like that, but they aren't an issue. And like I said, if you really wanted to, you could block them up. But then when you run the machine, like we will do now, you'll see that it's just going to delete any blocks you put in the wrong spot. So you really can't mess this part up. It's pretty easy. Okay, and obviously your drop chambers are going to be right here, and you can drop those down by the proper amount of blocks, which I'm not going to get into any of those measurements. Probably get them wrong anyway. I kind of just eyeball it most of the time, but you can see that they stick in right there, and you could use glass or anything below this at any point. You don't have to stick to any of the block palette after they fall off of this platform. So I think that's pretty much done. You're going to want to put a roof on it. You're going to want to put this tripwire over to your circuit over here, and so that's what I'm going to show you now just to end it off with. But if you're not interested in that, then bam, congratulations, see you later. Have fun with your new witch farm. Amazing. Okay, so if you're curious on how to build this cool little device I have over here, what you're going to want to do is you got your roof. You want to slab in a piece of redstone dust on any one of these blocks that's above this powered rail. You can do it anywhere here, but I just like to kind of do it in the center, obviously, for symmetry. You want to put a slab on top of this one, and you might also want a slab on top of that. I'm not sure. I think I'm going to skip it because we got a slab below. And so then you can fill it with water like we see here, and your tripwire string is going to be sitting right above the water. And you shouldn't have anything else activated because nothing can spawn up here, so you should be good to go. What we're going to do is just go out an arbitrary distance like this, just so we can see underneath the farm when we're over at the circuit, and it's just going to be a little bit of ways from it like this. We don't have any solid blocks connecting on the roof that's going to increase our subchunk value or anything like that, even though it probably has next to no effect, but it's still just super cool looking. So we're going to find the end of our string, and we're just going to do it, like I said, at an arbitrary distance. So let's stick this down right like so. What we're going to want is a piston that's going to be underneath this by a couple blocks. Let's see if I can figure out where to put this. I want it to be right there. And so what's going to happen is when that piston is extended, this armor stand is going to be pushed into the tripwire. So let's get out a redstone block and let's test this sucker out. So if this gets pushed up, our farm's going to activate. Super cool. And let's wait for it to get to the other side. If we depower the piston, it's going to activate a second time. And that is just the power of the observers detecting changes instead of states. Very cool. Okay, so we're going to want an observer, and this is going to basically tell us where everything else is going to need to go. So bam, like that, you can see it's going to activate it. And the way that the reason we use an observer is so it goes up and down quick enough to just give it one pulse. Because if we use like a piston that went up and down, then it would give it two pulses. It might break our machines. So this is a perfect place. This is a perfect way to tell where it needs to go, is by putting this observer down. So what we're going to want to do is break this temporarily. So while we're building this, it's not going to break our machine. We just want to know that that's in the right spot. So this is cool because it tells us exactly where we want our hopper clock to go. So let's just stick this in real quick. I'm sure you've seen how to do that before. The only important part you're going to need to know is that your comparator goes right there. Perfect. Okay guys, in case you've been living under a rock, we got an etho hopper timer over here with some items in here, and it's a pretty small amount of items. You can see how many are in there, and that's just, you want the flying machine to be able to get to the other side by the time it changes twice, so it could actually be quite a small number, but I just went with kind of an arbitrary amount. So you can see that we need to pull that observer out of there so we can instantly deactivate any signals going into our farm as soon as we turn it off, and we also want to power this so this turns off at the same time. Okay, so we're going to want to instantly remove this observer from the equation so we don't get any weird signals going into there when we turn this thing off, and at the same time we're going to want to turn off this hopper timer. So it's actually pretty easy. We just put a block here, torch there, and a block in that position with a repeater. That's going to turn the whole thing off. And then up on the back of here we want a couple more blocks like this. I think a couple like that should do it. And then we want a comparator. This one's on subtract. Daylight sensor on nighttime mode, daylight sensor on nighttime mode. Then we're going to want a block above this one. Alright guys, well, I'm not the best at explaining things, so I'm going to try one more time, make this a little bit more clear. So what's going to happen is if you want the farm to be on, then it's going to be in this state right here. And at any point you want to turn the farm off, what you're going to want to do is put this block above the daylight sensor. It's going to remove that observer, it's going to stop any signals going that direction, it's going to turn off your timer. And obviously, one last little thing that we forgot is we're going to want to put in our armor stand. Perfect. Make sure to give him a funny hat or something like that, but what happens is when you take that block away, it's going to activate the device initially, which is cool, because the observer gets put into place, and then every time that redstone block changes back and forth, that comparator, only one of the times actually when it comes back this direction, the comparator is going to activate, whole farm's going to work, and then at any point, you can just turn it off. Pretty cool. Alright guys, well there you go, there's your super compact little witch farm device with the slime blocks and the flying machines and your cool AFK point activation method. I'm really happy with all of these little mechanisms. If you have any issues with them, be sure to let me know. I'll try and address them in the comment section. If you want any more information about, where to put your roof or where to put your platforms or how to collect it all and where to AFK and all that stuff, there'll be better videos for you in the description you can go check out, but be sure to hit a like and a bell and all the good stuff on my channel to see more of this stuff in the future. Have a really great rest of your day. See you in the next one. Bye bye.